Welcome to the current issue of the Technique Guide for IMB. This issue being the first of the year, we're going to take that opportunity to reflect on performance but also look ahead. I'll give you some tips and advice for thinking about how to improve your riding in the coming year and making the most of the improving conditions as trails firm up, sun comes out and things get nicer and the riding gets better. We want to make sure our riding improves as well. It might not just be your riding technique you look at reviewing, but where you're riding, how often you're riding, who you're riding with, the conditions that you put yourself into, the situations that you put yourself into, and the variety that makes up the rich tapestry of riding. It's very easy to get very complacent about where you ride, do the same routes, do the same trails, make the same mistakes, with the same guys, listen to the same jokes on the same old bike. But start your new year with a think about how to change things up, mix things up, create more interest in your riding and get more from every minute you have in the saddle. So on with our baker's dozen, the 13 points to better riding, the 13 points to your aspirations for the year. Point 1 is to revitalise your bike.
So after the winter your bike might have got a bit worn down with all the mud and the water and stuff. So just think about revitalising your bike, maybe changing the cables and the shifters and the derailleur, having a bit of a bleed on the brakes, or maybe it just needs a really good clean to get it up and running ready for spring. So it's amazing how much a little bit of dirt in your cables can really affect the performance. So just changing it up will make shifting a lot sweeter. Also, regular check on your chain, making sure that it's not worn down, and before it gets worn down, changing it out will save you a lot of money. Instead of having to replace your chain and cassette, you can just replace your chain.
That chain stretch is easy to check, but once the chain has stretched too much, it's going to wear the teeth and you'll end up with very pointy teeth on your cassette. Then when you put your new chain on, it jumps around like a fish out of water. Much cheaper to keep a regular check, as Josh said, on the chain. Stretch if it falls within certain parameters. It's time to jack it off, put a new one on and save yourself a couple of £100 on a new cassette. As well as the general running of your bike in terms of shifting gears, performance of gears and brakes, tyre choice, etc. There are fashions and fads and changing designs in bikes, and new things come out that we like to test. Us older boys can be a bit of a stick in the mud about new ideas. It took me a while to really appreciate the benefit of wider bars, shorter stems, etc. But having made that change, you can really feel the difference. So don't be an old git like me, embrace a little bit of change, play around with things. Doesn't mean spending to the nth degree on everything, but don't be afraid of embracing a little bit of change. Maybe think about upgrading certain parts of your bike rather than replacing the whole thing. You could find that the general effects are very positive, and if not, and you don't like it, stick the part on eBay and I'll buy it cheap. Of course, one of the biggest changes that the market has been pushing on us over the last few seasons has been wheel size. 26, obviously no good at all for mountain biking anymore, but that said, there are some advantages with the 29er, and even I will now admit that I felt the difference. 650B, the brand new old, another wheel size to check out. If you didn't jump on the 29er bandwagon, you probably will feel a difference with the 650B in terms of its rolling resistance. But again, don't be a stick in the mud, give it a go, see it, play with it, see how it feels. As well as revitalising your bike, the new year and new season might be a chance to revitalise the body. By now, most of your New Year's resolutions about drinking, smoking and healthier lifestyle will have fallen by the wayside. But just thinking about maybe some cross training, taking on when the trail conditions aren't great for riding, maybe going out for a run. But old school thinking on how to train and how to get fit obviously gets challenged from time to time. There's been a bit of a focus on high intensity training, which works great for me because it means short, sharp bursts of really pushing yourself. No more than kind of 30-second bursts at absolute max, followed by breaks between, and the results can be quite impressive. So as well as the obvious ones of changing your diet and your lifestyle, maybe get into a little bit of extra fitness, make sure you're stretching out before you ride, not waiting till you cramp up halfway through a ride, but generally maybe putting in some miles on trails that are less technical to boost that fitness, so you've got a little bit more in your pocket for those summer, spring, longer rides, more intense conditions. It's not all about time on the bike. or on a fixed bike or on a turbo trainer. You read the tweets of any of the top riders out there getting ready for the season. They're down the gym, they're pushing weights, they're squatting, bench pressing, and really getting themselves stronger as well as fitter. There's a lot of power involved at that level of riding, and that doesn't come from just sitting on the saddle. Not only will being fitter affect your riding in terms of your performance on the bike, it also, according to a lot of studies, will help you learn faster. Fitter bodies lead to fitter minds. The more blood that's flowing, the better your body is working, the more quickly your brain develops. New skills can be adopted and adapted, new ideas can be absorbed. So getting fit isn't all about looking buff and riding fast, but thinking fast. And after point 1, naturally point 2, setting your goals. So first up, we really need to think about what you want to work towards, what your goals are, what targets you want to hit. It may be just to have more fun on your bike, it may be to get out more often, but hopefully if you're reading this, it's about riding with better technique, better control, more confidence, which will lead to greater enjoyment. It could be a case of wanting to ride faster, it could be a case of wanting to ride more technical or compete, start getting into some competitive element of riding. It could be to impress the boys, it could be impress the girls, but really the main thing about setting your goals is they should be your goals. Riding for you, not anyone else. Not riding for the pictures, not riding for the Strava times and the comms and the kudos, but riding so you have more fun. The actual achievement of your goals is kind of secondary. The journey to achieving those goals is the important thing. You may not get quite as quick as you want, you may not clear the jump that you want to clear by the end of this summer or in the next couple of weeks, but your journey there should lead to improvements in your riding generally. To put it in some old-fashioned sales technique terms, your goals need to be smart. They need to be
specific, measurable, achievable, realistic,
and targeted. You want to plot your progress in some way, and there are lots of ways you can do that. Generally speaking, just your times down a trail, if you bother to use an app that records times, will give you a signal of that, but they may not show you whether your technique's improving. They may just point to drier trails, faster conditions, or feeling better that day. Point 3, consider not just what to learn, but the learning process itself. Touched upon that in earlier editions about the stages of learning, going from an unconscious incompetent, not realising that there is a skill involved, to a conscious incompetent, realising that you don't have that skill, to a conscious competent who can actually carry out that skill when they're thinking about it, and eventually reaching the stage of unconscious competency where you can do it without thinking about it. Which is kind of simplifying things. Your brain will still be working, but the reaction time and the speed of the signals that are sent will be far more automatic, and you'll have to put less thought into what you're doing and more on what's coming next, which is always really important. There is a final stage of learning which some people identify, which is reflective competency, and that is how the great get greater. People don't just stop when they get to being the best and think they've achieved everything. They can then go back and review what they're doing on an unconscious level, unpick it and identify the building blocks. The building blocks of good riding, the skills that we need to put together to perform techniques, is what our system of coaching is based upon. A building block, a pedagogy approach. Use those building blocks and you'll polish them up and you'll end up with a better final result. There are loads of really good reference books regarding how learning occurs. One of the best that I've seen recently is The Talent Code by Daniel Coyle, well worth a read. Brain Rules, another great book which is out there, all looking at how talent hotbeds occur, how people get to achieve greatness, why some people progress faster, and more importantly at a kind of end user level is how to practice, the best way of developing skills. And we're going to look a little bit at that in our videos today, but much more so in the writing that you all obviously keep a keen eye on. These reference books are the result of lifetime's works of academics. They're not really related to any sport in particular, but you'll get a lot more information from them spending a few hours reading those books than you will spending a lifetime of your work life on forums, battling it out with keyboard warriors with very little knowledge and a lot to say for themselves. Read from the experts. They've put a lifetime's work into it. It is a vocation, it is a science, and it makes a difference.